Good morning, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your Rangers news update, guys. Look, it has set up a fascinating March. Upcoming, the start of March is going to be pretty intense for Rangers. It's going to be, I think, a real month of make or break. A real make or break month for the club, given the fixtures that will be upcoming, and we'll touch on that shortly. Rangers did their job yesterday. I think, look, we did what was expected. We didn't obviously have the embarrassment of past seasons where Queen's Park had put us out under Philippe Clement. We did what is expected of an SPL side, which is to beat a lower league side and to put them away in a manner that perhaps shows the gap in terms of where the clubs are, and also a financial gap between Rangers and Queen's Park. An 8-0 victory. Look, I'm not going to get carried away. To me, 8-0 is expected. It's what you should be doing against these clubs. And I'm not going to get carried away and say that it was an amazing performance, to say that it was a fantastic display and Rangers are back and this is the all-conquering Rangers. It was Queen's Park. Let's get perspective. It was Queen's Park. Look, if we'd gone out and beat Hearts 8-0 or Celtic 8-0 or Aberdeen 8-0, then yeah, we'd be talking a little bit more. Wow, they're back. It's a fantastic. It was a good result. It was a solid result. That's what it was, because it was Queen's Park, not Celtic, not Aberdeen, not some European team. It was Queen's Park. So you've got to look at, I think you've got to take, for me, the positives out of that game. You've got to take what went well out of that game and then use that to then build forward for the Motherwell game, for the Hearts game, for the upcoming Celtic games. That's what you've got to do. I thought the team selection was really, really interesting. Going to two up front. I think, this hopefully, please God, spells the end of Yusuf Chimiti ever starting a game for the club again. I thought Naderi and Miovski linked very, very well indeed. And it's a nice contrast there. Miovski's like your off-the-shoulder poacher kind of guy in your box, fox in the box kind of guy. The Dairy's the big guy, the guy who's the target, the guy who holds the ball up, plays in, and also gets his goals as well. And it was almost, sort of Haitley McCoist-ish kind of thing. It was a kind of throwback a little bit to the old days, of how Rangers play. And, I think as well it kind of spells the end of the number 10 experiment. Maybe Danny Roller's finally realised how bad a footballer Othello Asgard truly is, because you can't see him playing in a midfield too. The guy's just not fast enough or strong enough to do that. I thought Miovski did well. I thought Naderi was excellent, got his goals as well. And that's going to be, yes, it was against Queen's Park, but you've got to take the confidence he will get from finding the net out of that, and that's the bit to pick out of it. Yes, he scored against Queen's Park, wow, but it's the confidence of finding the back of the net that gives that, that real boost to him. Obviously, all the new signings got a run out as well. I thought Ramens was excellent. I thought Chukwuani was excellent. Skov again, really growing and coming through and doing really, really well. And I think, it's what we know about Skov. The guy needs game time. The guy needs minutes in his legs. The guy needs, the chance to play. And he's getting it now. And again, he does well again for Rangers. Ant-Man, look, I hold my hands up, did really well as well, but it was against Queen's Park. Let's get this into perspective. But I think, maybe Danny Rule has kind of stumbled on something here with this team selection. Two in midfield, the two wingers, the two up front. I think possibly you put Raskin in for Diamonde against Motherwell, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to going two up top against Motherwell and having a real go at them. I genuinely wouldn't. I think, this team has the talent, has the ability to take Motherwell on and to actually go at Motherwell. And I think if we went out attacking, it will push and force Motherwell back. And the one thing you don't want to do is give Motherwell confidence to come out and play, because they're a good side. They're a decent side. I think obviously Kelly gets the start in goal. Had very little to do, of course. I think, it does present some interesting questions going forward as to how we line up. Where does Mikey Moore fit into this if we stay with a 4-4-2, or is it more a 4-2-2-2 kind of format? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think there's a lot of crap spoken about formations, to be perfectly honest with you. How it's written down on paper isn't always how it appears on the pitch. A 4-4-2 can very easily become a 4-5-1, can become a 4-2-4, 4-3-3. Depending on how players move and how players move when they attack, how players move when they defend. But, it was reassuring, I think, to see basically us do what was expected of us. And you've got to give You got to give Daniel. I think Ryan Adair for me, man of the match, absolutely outstanding. Just quality, great to see him get his goals. Real top player, and encouraging. That's the big thing, I think. And like I said, we take the positives out of this. You know, we don't get carried away with the fact it was 8 goals because it was Queen's Park. We don't get carried away with the fact we won a game so easily because it was Queen's Park. We take the encouragement out of what we saw that went well. The formation worked well. The way we played worked well. Naderi worked well. Naderi Miovski worked well. You take those positives out. I actually don't think you can play Naderi and Chimiti together. I think they'd be too similar. Naderi to me is 10 times the player Chimiti is. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, I'm coming looking in the garden and there's one of my dog's toys that's out there that's wet and just lying there limply on the ground, and that's 10 times the player that Yusuf Chimiti is, if I'm being honest with you. Look, the biggest, I think, another thing that comes out of yesterday, obviously, is the cup draw. Rangers drawn in the quarterfinals at home to Celtic. Yes, the conspiracy theories have already started. It's a fix, apparently. It's a conspiracy. It's all against them. It's trying to make life as hard as possible for them. It's trying to make sure they're out of all competitions by the end of March. Yada yada yada. I mean, honestly, you just sit there and you honestly pull your hair out, with just the victim nature of that football club. You know, you sit. Look, I also watch an awful lot of English football. I am English. Look, it's natural that I'm going to watch English football. You know, I've got my family support varied English teams. You know, my partner and her family are Cov City fans. My daughters are Liverpool fans. My dad is a Leeds fan. My mum, God rest her soul, was a Sunderland fan. You know, so I do watch a lot of English football. And you don't hear any of this from any of the English clubs. You know, Celtic term themselves a big club. You know, you don't hear this from the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds, the Manchester Cities, that the league is fixed against them, that there's a conspiracy. And, you know, perhaps from Arsenal you do, actually. Come to think of it, Arsenal, yeah, but Arsenal are a joke. But look, you don't from the others. And it's hilarious, you know, straight away. You know, the moment that draw comes out of the hat, and it's a random draw made by people putting their hands without looking into a bowl and pulling a ball out. You know, to me, how the fuck do you fix that? You know, how the actual fuck do you fix it? You know, it's fixed. It's not. It's just conspiracy after conspiracy. And I think someone commented the other day on one of the videos and made a really interesting point. We didn't hear this when they were winning. We didn't hear any of this. It's a conspiracy. Everyone's against us. They're trying to make us lose. They're trying to make us do this. They're trying to stop this. We never heard this when they were winning. The moment it starts to go against them, it's not because they're playing badly. It's not because they're underperforming. It's because everyone's against them and it's a conspiracy. I mean, honestly, you have to laugh or you'd go mad. I mean, you genuinely would. And you kind of wonder what it is with them. I'm not going to say what I think it is because I'd probably get in trouble for it. But I think you can probably guess what I'm thinking. You know, that nature of how Celtic fans and their families are made up, you know, does kind of lead to a certain degree of idiocy and a kind of a natural degree of stupidity, doesn't it? There we go. Anyway, look, it's going to be Celtic at home in the quarterfinals. I think it's personally interesting. Because I think if it was fixed, they try and get it to be a semi-final or a final. So, look, at the end of the day, it ain't fixed. That month, though, is going to be massive now for Rangers. You look at the fixtures upcoming, you know, over the next few weeks, and it is huge. This period is now absolutely massive for this club. It really is. Motherwell, obviously, on Wednesday at home, away, sorry, at Fir Park is huge. It is a massive test for Rangers. Huge test for Rangers. Then the Ibrox game against Hearts, again, huge. Livy away, look, probably the less of the two. Then it's Rangers Celtic at home in the league at Ibrox. And then straight after that, the following weekend, Rangers Celtic again in the Cup. So, look, I mean, you're looking at 5 absolutely massive games. If we win all 5 of those, then I'll be honest with you, a cup double is definitely on for the club this season. There's no reason why, if we win the next 5, and we can win the next 5, let's get this straight, that we shouldn't win a double this season. I think that's an absolute. I think the one controversy that's coming obviously as well out of this is the fact that they could be giving up to 10,000 tickets for that cup game against us at Ibrox, that they could ask for 20%, which would be 10,000 tickets at Ibrox, which would give them the whole of the Broom loan. I personally would resist all opportunities for this to happen. I think it creates a very dangerous precedent and gives in to them. I think given 2,000 tickets, as we normally do, that is enough. They don't need 10,000 tickets. They don't need the whole of the Broom loan. The problem is, if you give in to them, if you give them that, then it creates a dangerous precedent, and it gives them sort of more fodder and ammunition for their argument that should be the same for every Old Firm game, which it shouldn't. They shouldn't be given that many tickets. We don't want that many of them in our stadium. We don't want Rangers fans missing out on this game. Our priority should be getting tickets to Rangers fans, not to the scum across the city. Guys, let me know your thoughts on that one. Anyway, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel.